Hello, welcome to Curiosity, Creativity and Beyond. We are live at Maplewood Farm and look who we have here. Two very friendly cows. So before they move, I'll go quickly over my materials: eraser, sharpener, graphite pencil. It needs a little bit of sharpening. I also have my non-photo blue pencil and a bunch of color pencils. So let's start, shall we? So the first thing I'm gonna do is a shape for the head, and this one is looking at me, and I notice that it has one ear on each side, a little bit of a pointy head, a little bit wider, and then this beautiful muzzle, not as wide as the head. I know they're going to be moving around, but that's okay. So now I'm gonna draw the body, and because she's looking at me, there's only so much of the body I can see. But I have my legs, one in front, one foot in front of the other. I have the big belly and this thing here that I know is the hip. So because of the perspective, some legs look shorter than others, but that's because of the perspective. Let's make sure I check my proportions, because I think this head is a little bit too small, because this is a very big cow. And that's more like. So I'm going to change to my graphite pencil, and I'm going to start adding some detail. And the first thing I'm going to start doing, see if she wants to. Oh yes, thank you so much. Because the body's turn, I'm going to take advantage of that and start with the body. It's a very, very big belly, and underneath I see where all the milk is going to come from. I also noticed that the neck has skin that is folding a little bit under the belly, and is much lower than the belly. There we go. And then we have one leg here with the knee a little bit thinner, and then these big hooves that have hair only until there. And the same thing. Hello, thank you for coming. Now that she's closer, I can even see the legs a little bit better. That's the knee. That thing that you hear, that animal that you hear, yes, that's turkey. And that other, that's a chicken. Okay, so let's make sure that I get this right. So that's the knee. And the knee is connecting this, and this is like this thing that comes from the neck. Hello. So now that she's looking at me, I can see that she has a very beautiful snout. She has very, very beautiful hair. And the eyes are on the sides of the face. And the nostrils. Hello. And then the snout has two pieces, the upper and the lower piece. And the upper one falls on the sides a little bit. And I can see how the snout is so pink. So pink. Yeah, look at that. It's a little bit pink here. And then I'm gonna erase that a little bit. Yes. Oh, thank you. You're facing me. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. She's a little bit more round here and here, so I'm just gonna work on her face a little bit. Painting outside could be a challenge, but when the animal is no longer looking at you, you can draw other parts, like for example that tail. So I know this was my back leg. So even when the animal is not looking at us, we can see so many different things. For example, I can look at the legs, and I can look at the patterns of color, and I really like the tiny curls that she has at the top of her head with beautiful eyes. Oh, thank you very much. So now that she's turned, I see that the ears are attaching on top of the eye. They're a little bit fluffy, and definitely they keep changing shape, so I'm gonna make sure that there we go, one, and the other ear. Just gonna make sure. Oh, thank you very much. Get a little bit like this shape, and they have a lot of hair. There we go. Yeah, drawing outside could be a challenge, but little by little you just make sure that when the cow is facing you, you add the details that you need, and when she's facing all the way, you add all the details. So now, for example, she's coming, and I can see the inside of her ear in much more detail, and I can also see this skin that is joining the head with the body, and that it goes on top of the leg. So that's something that I can draw here. And I also see that she has a beautiful pattern. This is going to be white, and this is going to be all brown. And if you don't have time to color drawings on location, that's absolutely fine. You can color it at home. You can make notes. Like for example, I am going to make some notes to color this later at home, that this is white and that this is brown, just in case I don't see her. But I also see she has some spots, and she has pink lips, And beautiful, beautiful eyes. Absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful, beautiful. And then she has a very beautiful pattern, like a star of hair right here. Do you see that? Hello. It's absolutely gorgeous. Let's see the back legs. I would like to finish with my back legs. And I can see the knee, and I can see the hoof. And now she's facing that way, but I can totally translate this into my drawing. There's a hoof, and there's a little bit of hair. Can you hear that? Trying to draw the hoof there. And look, there's some white drawing, and that's going to be brown. And the hoof is going to be a little bit pinkier. And the belly is all a little bit white. So now I have my cow, and I want to make sure I add that beautiful tail. I'm going to change to my non-photo blue because I'm just going to sketch out how I would like to draw it. Because it's a little bit thinner in the top, then it gets a little bit wider, and then it curls, 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 and almost touches the floor. And it also changes color. It also changes color. And I can see that also the hairs are becoming a little bit curlier. So I want to include that in my drawing, how all these little hairs, they kind of twirl like a spiral. So the tail, so I'm going to put here that the tail is fluffier as we go to its bottom, and also fluffier and lighter. So I'm just going to add a little bit of, always include a little bit of ground unless your cow is floating into space. And I'm just going to put a little bit more of details on these moves. So I'm going to add some motion lines, and I'm going to add some color. Because the face, see, the face was mostly white, but the body, let's see, front leg had a little bit of a drawing here. There we go. Those are my legs. Oh, just need some sharpening here. And the color is going to change a little bit depending on whether the cow is on the shade, whether she is, whether the sun is hitting. But she has an overall beautiful, beautiful brown color. Okay. So now that I have defined what areas are going to be dark and what I'm going to leave, I can also hold my pencil like this so I don't make lines. And look how the sun is hitting and how her colors are becoming much warmer. because it's a very sunny day. And the ears are definitely brown, but her face is not. I'm sure there are other cows that are different and have different patterns. So just make sure that you look, and you can choose which cow is your favorite and which one would you like to draw. And if you like a pattern in one cow and a pattern of another cow, you can make your own hybrid pattern cow. One thing I'm going to make sure is that the areas that are on the shadow are a little bit darker, and that's always going to be important to also know what bits and pieces are in front and which ones are in the back. For example, this leg is behind this piece of skin, so I have to make it a little bit darker. And look how beautiful when the sun hits. I see reds, I see yellows. So on top of this color that I'm using, I'm gonna use a little bit of, I'm gonna have some fun and experiment. That was our belly. And look what I'm doing, I'm adding some, also you can play with your shadows and pretend also maybe that there is hair by adding a little bit of lines here and there, because that's very hairy, but it's not long hair, it's very short. So I see patches, and then very lightly I'm gonna go with the same color, but very lightly. And you see that we have suddenly, as if I was using a total different color, but I just want to make sure that my cow has this very beautiful tone. Now you can hear all the animals in the farm. So I'm gonna erase that line there, and even from the distance I can see that the snout is very pink. Both upper and lower snout are a little bit pink. And the inside of the nostril is a little bit of a darker. I'm gonna make a dark red by mixing blue and red. There we go. And I'm gonna also use blue on top of the ochre to create a little bit of shadows. That's something also to have in mind. You don't have to use a black to create shadows. You can also use blues. And then we have the beautiful eyes. Then I'm going to make a little bit of a shadow here with another blue, definitely under the muzzle, because that is the shadow of the head on top of the body. What else? I think I'm going to go very light with this purple, because I don't want to give her a purple muzzle, but definitely there's a little bit of a pinkiness there, as well as in the hoofs. Yeah, and definitely here. Okay, what else do we have here? I'm going to use a little bit of a red. And suddenly I have a beautiful tone just by adding a little bit of red on top of the yellow that I added before. Not too much. definitely a little bit, and I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow too. Now I can go a little bit heavier with my, I'm gonna sharpen my pencil and add a little bit more of color. Now that I have defined all those darks and lights, and I added a little bit of color here and there, I can go a little bit darker with my color pencil and add a little bit more of color. If I had a brown, I would totally use a brown. Because what? I forgot my color brown, so I'm trying to create a brown using the colors that I have. Bless you. That was a goat sneezing. Okay. So I'm gonna make sure that doesn't have blood coming from her nostrils. But also, one thing I just noticed is that this cow that is looking at me now has a beautiful patch of the same color around her eye. And I want to include that. I hadn't noticed before. Maybe I wasn't paying much attention. Or maybe the other one doesn't have it. And it's irregular, meaning that instead of being a perfect circle, it has very, very irregular and asymmetrical. Those are very, very important things in nature. There's so much diversity that all her patterns are irregular. They don't follow a mathematically precise pattern, and they're also asymmetrical. And asymmetrical means that what isn't here on this half doesn't necessarily show here. Isn't that interesting? And I'm gonna add a little bit of red. Yeah, because she's now there and I can see. Yeah, I can see her eyes much better. She has beautiful, beautiful, beautiful eyelashes. And I'm gonna add them in my drawing. Just a couple. Beautiful eyes, absolutely gorgeous. And as you can see, depending on where they are, they have a shadow now on top of the body. So it will change depending where they're standing. But as a general rule, things that are not facing the sun are a little bit on the darker, and things that are exposed to the sun are a little bit lighter. Okie dokie. Well, I'm gonna add a little bit of shadows here. So this is our cow, and I'm gonna look at the hooves, and they're a little bit darker, so I'm just gonna add a little bit of color. And then they're on some sort of gravel, but I'm gonna, I would like our cows to be in a grass, so I'm just gonna use a green. And I'm going to use the color pencil to create some grass just by doing M's everywhere, and a little bit, maybe a little bit darker where the hoof meets the grass, because the grass has been compressed by the weight of this cow. Maybe even I can draw it like this, behind and in front. But overall, I would like this cow to be on grass, and I can even go with the yellow and add a little bit of extra lines, because maybe it's a sunny day, maybe the grass looks very bright in some places and dark in other places. And that's where your imagination comes to play. You can make her on a beach, or in the International Space Station. It can be a cow that is the first space travel cow. And I'm just going to add a little bit of sky. And one thing I don't want to forget is to add that detail on the tail that we talked about before. How it starts a little bit darker at the top, and as it goes down, it becomes a little bit lighter. And I have no idea what that is. But I think it's very interesting. I'm going to use a little bit of blue to add a little bit of shadows. And after you added color, you lost some lines, you can come back and make sure that your lines are still there. And I'm going to write some things that I have noticed while I was doing the drawing. For example, that the hooves are not covered by hair, because I would have missed that if I hadn't paid close attention. Also, the thing I notice about irregular patterns, and also asymmetrical patterns. And also beautiful eyes with eyelashes. And you can draw in detail, you can make your own annotations. What was your favorite part of these cows? Or any animal that you draw in nature. What's your favorite part? Do you like the way they look at you? Do they scratch their heads? Do they make any sounds? These cows have been very, very, very quiet. And I'm going to write here my title. I'm going to ask, what type of cow is it to the farmer? There we go. And it has a star shaped bundle of hair between the eyes. So these are my favorite my favorite things about this beautiful, beautiful cow. Hello. And my new favorite thing about this cow has a long pink tongue. So that's my drawing. Thank you for posing.